Negative infinity. Negative Googleplex.
Negative 1 millenillion. Negative 1 nongentillion. Negative 1 nongentillion. Negative 1 octangentillion. Negative 1 septingentillion. Negative 1 sextillion. Negative 1 quingentillion. Negative 1 quadrantillion. Negative 1 tricentillion. Negative 1 ducentillion. Negative 1 centillion. Negative 1 nonagentillion. Negative 1 octogentillion. Negative 1 septuagentillion. Negative 1 sexagentillion. Negative 1 quinquagentillion. Negative 1 quadragentillion. Negative 1 Google. Negative 1 trigentillion. Negative 1 bigentillion. Negative 1 decillion. Negative 1 nonillion. Negative 1 octillion. Negative 1 septillion. Negative 1 sextillion. Negative 1 quintillion. Negative 1 quadrillion. Negative 1 trillion. Negative 1 billion. Negative 1 million. Negative 100,000. Negative 10,000.
Negative 1,000.
Negative 100.
Negative 10.
Negative 9.
Negative 8.
Negative 7.
Negative 6. Negative 5.
Negative 4.
Negative 3.
Negative 2.
Negative 1.
Negative 0.9.
Negative 0.8.
Negative 0.7.
Negative 0.6. Negative 0.5.
Negative 0.4.
Negative 0.3.
Negative 0.2.
Negative 0.1. Negative 0.
Branoro. Titanoro. Jihanoro. Juwanoro. Codenoro. Arunoro. Hijurando. Dezerode. Beato Zerode. Omegade Zerode. Prototype at Zerode. Overpay at Zerode. Piamoniata Zerode. Yipagashner Organizational Ace Zerode.
0.
1 decillion. 1 icocillion. 1 decillion. 1 decillion. 1 octillion. 1 attillion. 1 pecillion. 1 nonillion. 1 microillion. 1 maximus million. 1 centimillion. 1 downer alien. 1 mirillion. 1 nanomillion. 1 octimillion. 1 septimillion. 1 sexmillion. 1 quinmillion. 1 quadramillion. 1 trimillion. 1 dumillion. 1 millimillion.
1 decentillion. 1 centillion. 1 nonagentillion. 1 octogentillion. 1 septuagentillion. 1 sexagentillion. 1 quinquagentillion. 1 quadragentillion. 1 trigentillion. 1 bigentillion. 1 novendecillion. 1 octodecillion. 1 septendecillion. 1 sexdecillion. 1 quindecillion. 1 quadtuordecillion. 1 tridecillion. 1 duodecillion. 1 noondecillion. 1 decillion. 1 nonillion. 1 octillion. 1 septillion. 1 sextillion. 1 quintillion. 1 quadrillion. 1 trillion. 1 billion. 1 million. 100,000. 110,000. 1,000. 2,000. 5,000. 100. 500. 1/10. Quarter. Half. 1. 1 and a half. 2, 2 and a half, 3, 3 and a half, 4, 4 and a half, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion,
1 trillion, 1 quadrillion, 1 quintillion, 1 sextillion, 1 septillion, 1 octillion, 1 nonillion, 1 decillion, 1 undecillion, 1 duodecillion, 1 tridecillion, 1 quatuordecillion, 1 quindecillion, 1 sextillion, 1 septendecillion, 1 octodecillion, 1 novemdecillion, 1 vigintillion, 1 invigintillion, 1 duovigintillion, 1 trivigintillion, 1 quatuorvigintillion, 1 quinvigintillion, 1 sexvigintillion, 1 septvigintillion, 1 octavigintillion, 1 novemvigintillion, 1 trigintillion, 1 intrigintillion, 1 duotrigintillion, Google, 1 tetragintillion, 1 quatuortrigintillion, 1 quintrigintillion, 1 sextrigintillion, 1 septentrigintillion, 1 octatrigintillion, 1 novemtrigintillion, 1 quadragintillion, 1 unquadragintillion, 1 duoquadragintillion, 1 trequadragintillion, 1 quatuorquadragintillion, 1 quinquadragintillion, 1 sexquadragintillion, 1 septenquadragintillion, 1 octaquadragintillion, 1 novemquadragintillion, 1 quinquagintillion, 1 unquinquagintillion, 1 duoquinquagintillion, 1 trequinquagintillion, 1 quatuorquinquagintillion, 1 quinquagintillion, 1 sexquinquagintillion, 1 septenquinquagintillion, 1 octaquinquagintillion, 1 novemquinquagintillion, 1 sexagentillion, 1 unsexagentillion, 1 duosexagentillion, 1 trisexagentillion, 1 quatuorsexagentillion, 1 quinsexagentillion, 1 sexagentillion, 1 septensexagentillion, 1 octosexagentillion, 1 novemsexagentillion, 1 septuagentillion, 1 unseptuagentillion, 1 duoseptuagentillion, 1 triseptuagentillion, 1 quatuorseptuagentillion, 1 quinseptuagentillion, 1 sexseptuagentillion, 1 septenseptuagentillion. 1 octoseptuagentillion. 1 novemseptuagentillion. 1 octogentillion. 1 unoctogentillion. 1 duooctogentillion. 1 trioctogentillion. 1 quatuoroctogentillion. 1 quinoctogentillion. 1 sexoctogentillion. 1 septenoctogentillion. 1 octaoctogentillion. 1 novemoctogentillion. 1 nonagentillion. 1 unknonagentillion. 1 duononagentillion. 1 trenonagentillion. 1 quatuornonagentillion. 1 quinonagentillion. 1 sexnonagentillion. 1 septennonagentillion. 1 octononagentillion. 1 novemnonagentillion. 1 centillion. 1 ducentillion. 1 tricentillion. 1 quadrantillion. 1 quingentillion. 1 sexentillion. 1 septingentillion. 1 octogentillion. 1 nongentillion. 1 nonagentillion. 1 millenillion.
1 dumillenillion. 1 trimillenillion. 1 quadrimillenillion. 1 quinmillenillion. 1 sexmillenillion. 1 septimillenillion. 1 octomillenillion. 1 nonimillenillion. 1 mirillion. 1 domerillion. 1 centimillennium. 1 maximus million. 1 micrillion. Largest prime ever found. 1 nonillion. 1 facillion. 1 atillion. 1 yoctillion. 1 mesillion. 1 duocillion. 1 icocillion. Googleplex. Ecedoneplex. First skews number. Daclyllion. Vericillion. Dixer. Giggle. Decataxis. Decapitaxis. Decaexaxis. Decadicaxis. Fast-growing hierarchy phi 1.
3 for 3 times and 3. 3 4. 3 5. 3 3 3. SSCG 3. SSCG 4. SSCG 5. SSCG 3. SSCG 4. SSCG 3 times and 3. 1,011 function number.